members of our Congress, you will always have within our government those that are above the law. Hey, it's me. And as you know, I have some worry about 2020. Now, if you're a loyal follower of TTS, the talk show, then I talked about a couple of topics that are related. Now, I invented the Trump rule, which is never underestimate Donald Trump. So I don't have any worry about anything that he will do because he understands everything in a very clear way. So I don't worry that he's going to drop the ball. Because when I'm talking about nationalism, it's really, all Americans, including liberals. So if you have dim-dims in the House to do something, at least for these 2 years, you have to make some deals with Democrats. But when it comes to elections, all these Democrats will vote for a Democrat. And I don't think in this climate that you can count on any Democrat votes. And I have to say, in the midterms, we had some good gains in the Senate, but we also lost 2 Senate seats. And we have a net gain, but still, you have to understand that there was no real walkaway, and there was also no big effect of blacks for Trump or whatever that is, the Candace Owen thing. And it's going to take more time. It's going to take more work. But I think overall, if you're talking about 2020, you're going to have to put together a coalition that includes some Democrats. Now, in 2016, that was possible because the alternative was Hillary Clinton. Not well liked. She didn't even campaign in some of those Rust Belt areas. And so President Trump got it. And he was really the anti-establishment candidate. But now he's president. And, many people that he works with are the deep state or the swamp. On top of that, he had all this poison for almost 2 years now from the left and the right media, calling him everything from a Zionist to an orange Hitler and everything in between. And that is because a lot of people in the right media have been paid off. And on top of that, many of them are actually left-wing, posing as being conservatives. And I say that because you always see them, Barf Bart, Infowars, Mankult, they're always praising far left-wing activists. Julian Assange, Kim.com, Edward Snowden, and before that, Chelsea Manning. And I'm like, these are left-wing freak activists. Why do people think they're on our side? That's not our side. And on top of that, they're anti-establishment, just like the Q people, and many of these left-wing libertarians who supported Trump in 2016 because they hated Hillary. She's like what they call a neocon, times 1 trillion. Okay, she's really one of those people that they can't stand. So they thought Trump would be better. But in 2020, they won't feel that way, and those people will not vote, or they will vote for the Democrat alternative. Especially if that person is a far left-wing anarchist type, or anti-establishment, they will vote for that person, not for Trump. These are not real Trump supporters. They never were. And if you see people caring about Tommy Robinson and England or Austria or Australia, and it's like, give me a break. It's America first. Trump is about America first. So it really does seem that in 2020, you'll see a lot of people in the right media show their true colors. And in many ways, you already saw many of them betray Trump. And they will do so in a bigger way. It all depends on who the Democrat candidate is. But then you also have the social media. Now the social media, as I notice and you notice, they're just following a plan, a step-by-step plan to eliminate pro-Trump voices on their platforms. And I'm not talking about nympho whores. They were insulting Trump every other week. I'm talking about real Trump supporters. And we're talking about ordinary people like you or me, and not the media, and not libertarians, and not Q people. We're talking about real Trump supporters now. And so by 2020, you will see that they will have added more rules, more people will disappear before 2020, so that they can dominate the narrative. So in essence, what I'm saying is that President Trump won in 2016 because, number one, Hillary Clinton was terrible. She was not only a bad campaigner, I mean, she never even went out to Michigan or Wisconsin. She thought she had it in the bag. She was just entitled. All she had to do was show up. She really thought that she would easily win by not even campaigning so hard. And it was a joke. But also you had Trump, who was something new, not paid for by special interests, not a typical politician, and he's outspoken, and he has a style and a message, and that resonated with a lot of people, even Democrats in the Rust Belt, and so he won. But in 2020, you now have a sitting U.S. president, and you no longer have that ability to run as anti-establishment when you're the president and people you work with every day are the establishment. So you need something else. Now, opposed to that is that an incumbent president more easily wins re-election. I mean, it takes a lot for that person not to be able to win re-election. So you lose that new aspect of somebody who's not a typical politician, anti-establishment, but you gain the fact that President Trump proved himself. He has a great record, great results, historic results even. But as you saw in the midterms, people don't always care about that, but he was not on the ballot. And so a lot of it depends on who the candidate will be in 2020. If it's somebody that libertarians and the Q people can't stand, so I'm talking about somebody who's not a far left-wing radical, but someone who's like a typical Democrat, they may vote for Trump. But the right-wing media, the fake right-wing media, everybody from Michael Savage to Mancoulter to Barf Bart, nympho whores, and of course the Q people, they've been poisoning our people. They've been trying to chip away at the Trump support. And, with friends like that, who needs enemies? But President Trump is aware of the betrayal of the nympho whores, and even Barf Bart with Bannon always there, and even now he's not with Barf Bart, but, they still call and whatnot. And so what I'm saying is that whereas you had a kind of polarizing person in Hillary Clinton that consolidates, you had a lot of people voting against Hillary, not necessarily for Trump. Whereas in 2020, you will have a lot of people voting for Trump, considering he has a great record and great results, and not so many people vote especially against a Democrat, because it will not be a person that is so well known as Hillary Clinton, or so hated as Hillary Clinton. And so my worry really is that I see an escalation coming, and you can see the telltale signs even in the right media. All those people that you've been watching for decades, I was pretty shocked to find out that many people that have been listening to me were following Mike Cernovich this whole time. And I already outed this guy as a traitor, but, that's a year ago. Nobody listens to me, I guess. And it's sad, because it turns out that a lot of people have been following all these charlatans who are the very people who will backstab Trump when it matters the most in 2020. And I'm not even joking about it. And many of them have received payments from the Iran deal, kickbacks and bribes, to support Iran when it matters. And that's why with the Khashoggi thing, you can see in the media all those people that are paid off by Iran. And you also see that when the Iran deal is discussed, or when President Trump bombs Syria, they all take the side of Syria and Iran against President Trump. I mean, what kind of supporters are those, right? I mean, we're talking about people who are like freelance idiots out there. And like I said, they love Julian Assange more than President Trump. They love Edward Snowden more than President Trump. And I dare say that many of them secretly like Bernie Sanders. Because there isn't much difference between people that follow Q or people that follow the info horse and Bernie Sanders people. They're pretty much the same. And so to have our side be so infiltrated by people who support far left-wing radicals like Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, I mean, how can you support Trump? Because he's for national security and America first, and it seems they're not. And that's why I've been seeing people get off the Trump train. And another thing I noticed, but this may be online, but I guess you can extrapolate and realize that many people would easily be fooled, but you have people attacking Paul Ryan for a year and a half, and okay, the guy's being scummy, but he's exactly like Trey Gowdy. But these people that attack Paul Ryan are then supporting a rhino like Trey Gowdy, even wanting him to be Attorney General. And he's a never-Trumper. Trey Gowdy is a never-Trumper. And so that really shows you that people will just follow anyone, even still supporting Bourbon Bannon right now, who said that Trump has dementia and that he's under house arrest and that firing Comey was a big mistake. I mean, we're talking about a lot of people supporting these numbnuts and the hypocrisy. You have Joe DeGenova. I know many of you like him. I don't know why everybody really likes him. Maybe because he's blonde or something like that. But, you know, he was attacking Bob Goodlatte. But then he fails to attack Trey Gowdy, who also did not do anything. And why does Trey Gowdy get a pass every time? Are these people afraid of a backlash? And I find it so sad, you know, people are following these never-Trumpers. And that really shows that Trump support isn't as large as people would think. Because in essence, you have people that are easily had, and they follow these false prophets. I mean, you cannot get more establishment than Trey Gowdy praising Mueller for almost 2 years now, always sucking up to the deep state. And then these people say, trust Trey Gowdy. I mean, it doesn't make any sense if you think about it, but that's the problem. That is really the problem. Why, you know, invent Q and all that BS instead of talking about the results that Trump had? And so all of these people that have been following Q and Cernovich, I mean, they've all been dropping the ball and not focusing on what it's all about. And that is President Trump doing a lot of stuff. And they're complaining and ankle biting. It's because they all have an inner liberal that always wants to come out. And eventually that inner liberal always comes out. Because when I saw people on our side always talking about boycotts and regulating the internet, and that's net neutrality. And boycotts is left-wing activism. Or going out on the streets, or I see, you know, Proud Boys. I mean, that's Proud Boys, Antifa. I don't see any difference. It's the same left-wing mentality. And the truth is, that's because these people are not conservatives. So I'm not saying President Trump should only have supporters that are conservatives. But what I'm saying is that whole segment that is not conservative or that is not loyal, they may just really influence the 2020 elections. And that is unless the Democrat running is so disgusting that it's almost like Hillary Clinton, right? We need somebody like that, then it would be easy. And so I still believe President Trump will get reelected just on the power of his accomplishments and the results. And you notice that liberals are trying to downplay the economy. You know, every week now you see news like, well, the economy is slowing down. Well, you know, the stock market dropped some points. And it's always like, the end is coming, right? The end of the economic boom, and we're going to go into a recession. That's what Democrats want. And then you have the Federal Reserve raising the rates. And I believe that everything is one giant play where you have the Federal Reserve, you have the Democrat Party, you have the Mueller probe, and of course you have Democrats talking down the economy, that the media then assists in silencing Trump-supporting voices, amplifying these traitors like QAnon people or people that, you know, are slamming Trump every other week. And it will all combine, and I've called it Operation Zulu in the past. Some of you may remember it. And it's very real. It is really happening. And one by one, you can see some of these people in the right media starting to betray Trump. I mean, they're all getting ready for 2020. So that it's not like an overnight thing. You know, they want to make it seem like it's an evolution. And it's really because of Trump that they changed, that Trump really underperformed, and he didn't do this, and he didn't do that. And it really shows that they were never Trumpers all along, just fooling a lot of people for the cash or selling the vitamins, whatever it may be. But I believe in 2020 you will see a culmination of all these forces, including the Federal Reserve, even some companies, and they will create a situation that will enable the Democrat to win. Now again, everything really depends on who runs against Trump, and if you look around, every choice they have, it's like a terrible choice. And they want to put Michael Obama up against Trump, number one, because she's a woman in their eyes, and she's black, right? She's black. And it'll be hard for Trump to be violent and aggressive, as they say he is, or to give her a nickname like the Sasquatch. Imagine Trump comes out on Twitter and the Sasquatch. But really now, I mean, they need somebody that has a shield and a sword, and maybe somebody like Michael Obama will be polarizing enough, or you have some of these far left-wing candidates, camel-faced or camel-toe Harris. I think she will really make people vote for Trump, even if they don't like Trump. And so I'm saying that the core of true Trump supporters, people welded onto the Trump train, it's much smaller than you think. But out there, a lot of people are just judging by what's happening. The economy, new jobs, security, and they see the overall picture. And that's where President Trump has his best chance, is that people want to keep this momentum going, this growth, and they like what they see, even if they don't like Trump. Now, when it comes to Democrats in the Rust Belt, many of them are still very much Democrats. I don't expect people to change. But again, it will be up to who the Democrat is. But let's imagine you have a charismatic left-wing guy, and he's appealing to a lot of Democrat voters in the Rust Belt. And in an election, imagine Trump does not get Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin, and everything hinges on Ohio. But Florida's going to play a key role because, you know, during the midterms, when the results were coming in, I was very excited about Florida because we won the Senate, and then also the governor is Ron DeSantis. And that's really important for 2020 because you need Florida, and those guys can really help. Now imagine if you had a Democrat governor and then Bill Nelson won, then you would have seen more voter fraud, and you would have people that are misplacing ballots all over the place in 2020, and it could be that you then lose Florida and then it's over. What I'm saying is that now, and that's why next to winning the Senate, I thought the wins in Florida were so critical for 2020 that I was very elated. And that's also why you see these people, asking for a recount, especially in Florida. It's because of 2020. So I see that President Trump may not get Wisconsin in 2020 the way things are panning out, and Michigan may be a problem, and Pennsylvania. And Ohio, I believe it's really 50-50. But President Trump has to come out with something that satisfies the base and also reaches out a little hand to some of the moderate Democrats to come through with the big wins in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and who knows, maybe even get Michigan again. But I will tell you that it's going to be hard this time because you're not new, you're not dynamic, you're not anti-establishment anymore, and you had all that poison, and you have a lot of left-wing libertarians that they just don't like the establishment, even if that means the Trump presidency and President Trump is in the Oval Office. They don't like it because they're anti-establishment no matter who is in office, and so we have that going against us in some way. But like I saw in the past, all these Q people and libertarians, in the past it was all the Ron Paul people, and you may remember that online it was a big noise, but out there in the vote count, nothing. They don't have an impact. So it's really about a media play, because if you have people that have been supporting Trump, a lot of people that are Trump supporters followed them. But then they get fed a lot of poison and they turn on Trump, trying to turn as many people against Trump as possible. Now, most Trump supporters can see right through the media, whether it's on the left or on the quote-unquote right, but there will be some kind of an effect. Because President Trump, he doesn't want to talk to Van Coulter. Come on. He thinks she's creepy, and it's really true. I wouldn't talk to her. It's like, ugh. Just like he doesn't want to talk to Trey Gowdy. And he wants nothing to do with InfoWars, and I cannot blame him for that. They were saying F Trump and F his family. Well, F InfoWars and F Spandex Bones. And Michael Savage, President Trump even gave that old man a chance to come to the Oval Office, and he's still a little San Francisco liberal. I'm sure President Trump knows that. He just cares about the audience, that if he can get these puppets on board, because they really are easily paid for, these puppets at the InfoWars or Barf Bart, then it's going to be okay. But I believe when you have a lot of treachery from within, that's the problem. We're talking about the enemy within. We're talking about a Trojan horse with all these libertarians falling out of it. It's a worry I have. Not that they will have a major impact on the votes themselves. And so it really worries me. The fifth column is the enemy within. On the left, we don't depend on their votes. If we get some Democrat votes, great. The victory will be greater than imagined. But the default setting should be that we don't need their votes. But then if you look at our base, we have a lot of liberals with gimmicks, or libertarians that are leftists, and they're not really on our side. Most of them aren't. A lot of them are, turncoats. They will easily join the other side and then come back again. These are not people you can rely on. And then you have a bunch of conservative establishment people, the Ben Shapiro types, and they're still pushing globalism. Free trade is really globalism because you're shipping your factories overseas to China. Jobs are leaving. It's not America first. Free trade is globalism. And so some of these conservatives have been pushing that for many years because they have donors that are the same donors as people on the left that also push for globalism. So it's about the companies and the special interests that are paying these people, like some of these conservatives and most people on the left. It's all about globalism. So to have real America First people that are also not crazy or too left-wing, that's what you need. So what I'm saying is that President Trump this time around is going to have a different way, a different strategy. It's going to be building on success. It's going to be about results, and it's not going to be about fringe libertarian leftists and cyber terrorists and the wacky bunch. In 2015 when President Trump first ran, he's going up against all these establishments. So in the media, he talks to anyone because you need to really get anything and anyone. So he was there talking to Joe and Mika, and he was there doing a Skype with Spandex Bones. And one time I think Coulter was at a rally, but President Trump doesn't want these people. And it's not that they're conservative or they're this or that. It's that President Trump knows these people are hacks and they turn like the wind. And many of them, frankly, are very leftist. How many of you were shocked when President Trump had an interview, I think it was 2015 or 2016, and he casually told the interviewer, well, Reagan was a conservative, but not that conservative, to be honest, he said. And a lot of people are like, what, why? And that's the truth. You had a mix. You had a lot of Bush in there as well. As VP, he did, influence Ronald Reagan, as well as many people in the cabinet. Talking about your typical Bush people, the establishment. So Reagan did a lot of conservative things, and he also got pushed back. But then he tried to compromise with the liberals. Now, if President Trump goes too far in working together with the left, it's going to be hurting his 2020 chances, because a lot of these people are relying on President Trump to keep those conservative values. And I do believe that President Trump will keep it that way. He's not going to turn into a left-winger or anything like that. And he also knows that Democrats are just not going to vote for a Republican. Now, you may have some people that will, but it will be way more of a difficult task going ahead in 2020, whereas in 2016 you come in as the underdog, nobody takes you seriously, and there's a movement. And what I'm saying is that 70% of that movement was an anti-Hillary movement, not necessarily a pro-Trump movement. Because as soon as President Trump was inaugurated, many of those people jumped off the Trump train and betraying Trump every other week. So I don't see them as Trump supporters. I see them as charlatans. So my worry is not that President Trump doesn't know how to handle everything. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing how President Trump cracks this nut. And that is, how do you do nationalism without giving the left too much? And does President Trump run as an establishment guy, or is it going to be like the 2016 campaign? and kind of ramp it up a little bit. We'll have to wait and see. But the slogan will be, "Keep America Great!" Exclamation point. And so I feel like it's going to be based on results and looking forward to doing even more big things to help our country. So I know with the spending and all of these things going on, a lot of people are also very unhappy. That you're not used to seeing people that have conservative values but yet can reach out with tentacles to do some things on the left, like prison reform. And so I think President Trump is in it for the long run. So I think he's going to run on what he can do in 4 years after he's